We are the Crossroads project. I'm Cruz.
My name is Gustavo.
This is Gustavo. So basically our project was to peer the various IIT testbeds. So we have the mobility testbed, voice over IIT, WebRTC, and G911, but those will be future peering connections. So basically a peering connection allows you to route calls from one testbed to the other by using a peering connection and not using a DNS lookup. So before I get into the meat of our project, I just want to give you a little background information so we're all on the same page. So I just want to go over what Asterisk is, what SIP protocol is, and what Kamailio is. So Asterisk is a SIP proxy. It's an IP PBX. It's basically, it's a great tool because it allows you to bridge the legacy PSTN network using an IP-based network, and it bridges those two connections so you can make calls from a legacy network to an IP-based network. In our project, we used Asterisk as a peering connection with the various testbeds. SIP is a protocol. It's an application layer protocol. It's used to create sessions, manage, and terminate. And it allows setup for real-time media using RTP. RTP is what is used for audio and video and text. Kamailio is also a SIP proxy, and voice over IIT uses Kamailio, so that's why I just wanted to point that out so you know what the different functional elements are in our project. So just to give you an example of how the peering connection would work with Kamailio is that an invite would go out to Kamailio. You would then get an authorization saying, hey, I know that you're a peering request. Am I going to authorize you? Hopefully you would say yes. The invite would then get sent back out to Kamailio, which would then forward it to the Asterisk and then come on back to the phone, and you would then have a connection between the two user agents. So to get into our project, the requirements were a desktop to install Asterisk, which we used a CentOS server, lab computers, so we could then have the user agent client so we could make calls between the test beds, headset, the Asterisk software, and access to the RTC test beds, voice over IIT, and mobility. So the tasks and milestones, obviously the first step was to install Asterisk on CentOS, design a network topology, use the configuration files within Asterisk to have the configurations to peer with the test beds. Then we needed to connect the user agents from our proxies so then we could make test calls between the functions or between the elements. And then start to peer with a test bed. So we started with the Crossroads, and then we moved to mobility, created that peering connection. So then we had that connection, so we were able to make a test call between our Crossroads and the mobility. That worked great. And then so when that worked, then we started going on to the voice over IIT side, made that peering connection, and start playing with that telephone calls. Like I said, that goes into making the test calls, playing with all that. And then the end result will be provide end user documentation, because since there are two other test beds to peer with, we want to be able to have clear and precise directions on how to further take it, peering connections. I'll pass off to Gustavo.
Hello? Okay. So let's move on to the logical architecture that we use to peering the voice over IIT testbed and the mobility. The logical architecture is pretty straightforward. It's, from one side we have a Kamailio, the Kamailio testbed. That is, usually Kamailio is connected with a MySQL database. On the other side, we have the mobility testbed. The mobility testbed uses Asterisk as its proxy, SIP proxy server. And in the middle is our Crossroads, our proxy a SIP proxy server to connect one testbed to another. We choose Asterisk as our proxy, SIP proxy. But the physical architecture is not complicated. From the upper left side, we can find our Crossroads that is connected to a layer 2 switch. In the upper left, in the upper right of the slide, we can find the Mobility Asterisk server. And here we have here in the lower side, we have the Kamailio, and our goal is to interconnect those test beds and make phone call end-to-end. And this is important to remark. And the devices that we use are computers, our user agents are two user agents per test bed. So this is just for testing purpose. We can use more computers. We can use more user agents. So at the beginning, we use just 2 user agents for mobility, 2 from voice over IIT, and we use 2 computers or user agents for Crossroads, but this is just for testing purpose or troubleshooting. Our final goal is just to interconnect and make call from mobility to voice over IIT. So the configuration of the cell phone is pretty easy. We use, as I told you, 2 user agents for VoIIT, 2 user agents for mobility, and the user agents for Crossroads are just for testing purpose and troubleshooting. The peering device, as we stay and as Cross stated in the beginning, the peering is the way to use Asterisk as a pathway to other SIP-based test beds. So distinguish which peer the test bed should route calls to, and configuration takes place in the SIP-conf file. So in the Asterisk server, we have 2 files that we configure the SIP-conf files, what is actually the place we make the peering connection, and the extension conf file that we route the calls from one testbed to another. Actually, in the extension conf files, is the place we set up the dial plans. Here, we can see like a screenshot of how it is connections. We see that Crossroads and the voice over IT SIP proxies are registered and they are communicating each other. And this is the way that we make the call from testbed, voice over IIT testbed. We try to make call from the mobility testbed. So at the beginning, we just start here, just making locals phone calls. Later, we start with mobility and make calls to the Crossroads testbed. And finally, we were able to make call from mobility to voice over IIT testbed. So as we stated at the beginning, our goal is to make calls end-to-end from voice over IT and mobility. But this is not the final goal of the real-time communication lab. We want to apply, or we want to use our Crossroads as a way to interconnect another test beds like BART, the night engine 911, and the WebRTC. So yeah, appearing with other real-time communication lab testbed and start to develop studies of flow-through between the others testbeds. Thank you very much for your attention. Do you have any questions? Ah. This one? Okay. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Well, usually for testing purpose, we disable the firewalls and everything, but it's not right. It's just for testing.
That's great. No questions, and we'll move on. Just thank you very much, guys. Did a great job.